So let's go over the operation of the TEHCM interface. Let me show you some of the different options and things you can do with this when you're trying to test these different TEHCMs and TEHCM transmissions. So right now, the TEHCM interface is powered up, but the TEHCM itself isn't. I have it connected to a 6L80 valve body. So once I power up the actual valve body, TEHCM, you can see it'll go out, find the part number, and it'll say configuring TEHCM. This one happens to have a calibration already on it, so it's basically just establishing communication and being able to talk to it. Once it's ready, it'll say ready to test, and there's a number of different options that you can do. So let's just start with some of the setup stuff first. So that's this button on the bottom here. If I click this, it gives me some different options. First one is temperature units I want to display in, pressure units I want to display in, whether I'm configured to test on a dyno or a valve body tester, CAN termination, and then some information about the unit, serial number, firmware version, hardware version, whether you have the erase and program license. Since I'm just testing this valve body, I'm going to switch this from dyno mode to valve body mode and go back to the home screen. What I can also do now is, let's just say I had a blank TEHCM. I'd go into this option and now I could program it. This would allow me to program it with a calibration that would allow me to dyno test this or to check it on a valve body tester. This is not a calibration you want to use in a vehicle. It is just for test purposes. So you can test the units, verify everything is functioning, and then when you're all doing that, you can go into this mode, which would be to erase the TEHCM and bring it back to a like new factory state. Just like you would buy one from a dealership, it's blank, and it'll have to be flashed for whatever vehicle it is in and match the VIN with that. What you can also do on here is check DTC codes. So I can see there's a couple in here from when I was powering this up and turning it off. A couple of DTC codes gives you the actual DTC code and a description. I can clear the fault codes, and if it's a hard code or something that won't clear, or there's something wrong with the valve body, say in this instance, if I unplug the park reverse neutral sensor, that code would reappear. Okay. Now if I want to do a shift test, I go to this part here, and you can see right now the valve body is in neutral. I have no faults. My temperature is 59 degrees, and my different pressure switches are all in the off state. Once I shift this into drive, then I have the different options in being able to upshift and downshift through the gears, turn my lockup on and off, and change my line pressure simply by pressing the button. So that shifts me to second gear, third gear. If you can hear it in the background, you can hear the solenoids clicking. Fourth gear, fifth gear, sixth gear. If you want to turn lockup on, lockup on, lockup off, changing line pressure, medium, high. So we give you 3 different settings, low, medium, and high. So you can change line pressure as you're running. Back down to fifth gear, fourth gear, third gear, second gear, first gear. So I can kind of step it through all the different functions on here. While it's doing that, you would see the pressure switches respond. If I had this hooked up to a pump where the pump was pumping fluid into the valve body, then I could see the pressure switches respond as I get to the different states. I can see like my temperature sensor again giving me what the temperature it's reading on that sensor on the valve body, my park reverse neutral switch where that is set at, and you can see I have no error codes or faults. So if there was one that popped up, it would tell you right there that there is one, and that. So the difference is if I go into dyno mode, because this is valve body mode, what it does is it's not looking at the speed sensors to accomplish your shifting from first to second. So it's not using that feedback to modulate the shifts. It's just going through the gears to test on a valve body tester. In dyno mode, it actually requires the 2 speed sensors because it's expecting the whole transmission to be there. And the biggest difference there is it's using that, and then it's not going to let you turn lockup on until you're in 4th gear. So in dyno mode, this wouldn't appear until you get to 4th gear. But that's basically how to use this to go through and test a transmission, test a TEHCM, whether you're on a valve body tester or on a dyno. And that's pretty simple. And when you turn it off, the communication will stop, it'll realize the TEHCM is not out there and go back to searching for TEHCM. So a pretty simple interface, but gives you the ability to really test those transmissions and those TEHCMs fully.